all of the specifications across every single different field all over the United States are regimented, and it has a really specific set of rules about how you're going to capture a football game. And the reason for that is that every single game then becomes a part of the asset library.
Lost in space, but that's okay. Climb aboard the brand spaceship today.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Sheffer. This is the Brand Spaceship, and today we're talking about content upcycling. And if that's a word you haven't heard of, I understand. We made it up.
Content upcycling. This is new to people because, as you said, you just made it up. So let's dive in to what that entails.
All right, so content upcycling, the simplest way to describe it is that you're going to take your asset library, which is your collection of video files, animation, design assets, even audio files from previous campaigns, and you're going to mix them up and you're going to make something new. This is the moment where we actually could probably grab my most overused video, which is Alfred Hitchcock talking about editing and how when you take one video and then you put it up against another video, it has completely different meaning. We talk a lot about the asset library being a big box of Legos where you buy one Lego set, it comes with a manual and it says this is how you build the Lego set. And then when you're done, it all gets crumbled and it gets thrown into a big container, generally speaking. You should think of your brand's asset library as that big pile of Legos. Are the Legos all different colors? Do they not seem like they match? Are they complementary of each other? Do they all come from that same jungle theme? So you can build all sorts of new jungle Lego sets just from all the different individual sets you had bought, mixing and matching and building something new. The truth is, though, that we all know content upcycling, and we do it a lot without putting a name to it. So here's where I want us to insert our Prime Video sports video. A sizzle reel effectively is content upcycling. It's taking things that have been made in the past and making something new out of it. Whenever you turn on HBO Max, now called Max, I still have the old app that doesn't work. It will preview before the show a bunch of shows put together. It'll remind you of Game of Thrones and how you wish it ended better. Like, I wish Game of Thrones ended with Jon Snow at Thanksgiving, honestly. For those of you that don't know, Jared is often referred to as Jon Snow at Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And it's like I like that. It's like kind of like the ending of The Village, where you reveal that the time period you're in was incorrect and he's actually just an American.
So that sizzle reel, that's upcycling, taking old content, mixing and matching. The number one place I see this happening all the time, and we just played our sports sizzle, is professional sports. Specifically, let's go NFL. Let's stick to NFL. NFL is the king of having an amazing asset library and upcycling that content. They have decades of content. And over the years, as someone who's dealt with them, they are so specific about how they're edited together, who's represented on screen, what type of lenses, what type of cameras, all of the specifications across every single different field all over the United States are regimented. And it has a really specific set of rules about how you're going to capture a football game. And the reason for that is that every single game then becomes a part of the asset library. When we start to think about content upcycling and the building of an asset library, it really is about making sure that you have rules for your brand, that every time you go out there and you create content, we copy these rules over and over and over and over again. So everything that's ever made gets to be put back together. So when you want to go and not have to shoot more, you just have to look back at all that footage of those NFL games and go, this plus this plus this equals a new video. The NFL highlight that we did for Amazon Prime when they were announcing Thursday Night Football, all of this content works together. And it works together because they're aware that if it didn't work together, they wouldn't be able to create as much content to advertise the games themselves. And really, even though we're talking about the NFL, all sports follow this. I just think that the NFL is the best.
The NFL is a fantastic example of a brand that knows its brand guidelines very, very well, sticks to it. And because of that, every piece of content they make is evergreen. Now, how this relates to brands that are not the NFL, let's talk about how a brand could could conceivably shoot for 1 week, and from that content, building out that asset library, produce enough content to last them a full year.
I get that some people might respond to, you're talking about the NFL, you're talking about billions and billions of dollars. I have $7. Well, you're probably going to need more than 7. But let's talk about it. You have one shoot for 1 week and you're going to shoot for a whole year. The first question you have to ask yourself is, how many products do you have? Some companies, one product, others have tons. If you have tons of products, it's going to be a little bit harder because you're going to have to get a lot more things into one place. It doesn't mean it's not possible, but especially if you're the type of company that has tons of products and they all look very different and have different use cases, it will be a bit difficult to capture that in a short period of time. But let's assume that, like most companies, you have a handful of products you need to capture. Like you're a skincare line. If you're a skincare line, you're going to have facial cleansers. And this is me pretending I have any idea what they'd have.
For a body that's out of this world, choose Nebula Essentials.
But my assumption is they have like 5 products, right? And they're all little bottles. If you had a week to shoot a year's worth of content, every single day, Monday through Friday, is going to focus on one product. You're going to focus on both video and you're going to focus on photo. You're going to shoot both scenarios that include performers, right? So it's someone in a mirror putting on putting on that mask that they're selling, right? Someone who is enjoying their day outside, having a picnic because their skin is so glowing and beautiful. What you're going to do is you're going to try and map out as many scenarios as possible in one location per day. I believe for the product, you can do at least 3 scenarios per day, plus photos in all those scenarios, plus shoot everything on a backdrop. So you're going to get a white backdrop, a black backdrop, and you're going to get a colored backdrop, maybe even more. And you're going to shoot a bunch of photos that are really your product photos. Then you're going to have your 3 scenarios. Each of those 3 scenarios can make a single ad for that product. So you're going to end up having a overall video, which is all the scenarios together plus the backdrop. And then you're going to have a video for each scenario. So you're going to end up with 4 spots per product per day, right? So at the end, you have 20 total individualized spots. And then you'll be able to mix and match into a bunch of different variants. I believe really, really quickly, you're going to end up with at least 1 spot every other week across the 52-week year, right? You can see how that adds up quickly. Then let's go and think, usually on social media, we also want a lot more photos. I believe with that photo setup, with each of the scenarios, you're going to get at least 100 usable photos per product. You're going to end up with 500 total photos. That's more than 1 photo per day for the rest of the year. It's almost 2.
This leads pretty naturally straight into, for brands marketing teams, A/B testing is so important.
Oh, this is getting into variants beyond that, right? So content upcycling, once you have these base ads, what did we say? We said we were going to end up with 4 base ads per product. Within each of those, I would say you can try at least 10 in cards. Is it going to be an offer? Is it going to be a call to action that pushes them to join your Facebook group? I have no idea, right? But all of a sudden you have 10 per, so you're at 40. You're at 40 times 5, you're at 200 total video assets that you made in a week. That doesn't even begin to say all the ways you can mix and match everything. Getting back to A/B testing the value, like why would you want all these? I mean, forever and ever, we were told that you should just make 1 video ad. It's a commercial. It's perfect. The production value is top notch, etc. But the reality is that in a world where you can be very specific with who you target, where you can literally send an ad to 1 email address, increasingly, we see brands wanting to speak more directly to these individuals. And when you think about it, it logically makes sense. However, if you spend all your time and your money on one asset, you have to speak to the masses. When we're talking about arranging your full year's budget around 1 week of shooting, and then basically you're just testing using upcycling. You're just saying, hey, we have this theory on how this one ad would work. It's like, okay, it didn't. Let's try a different call to action. That worked a little better. Let's try mixing and matching 2 of these products together and selling it almost as a package. Did that work? No, it didn't. Let's try an ad that's just product shots on the backdrops. Did that work? Yes, it did. Okay, double down on that. And then you're going to iterate on that and say, should we have discounts against this product? Should we specifically sell on different platforms, whether that's social media, that's, paid ads, whatever you're doing, you're going to just audition all these different things and then track back which led to the call to action you were looking for. And at the end of the day, hopefully, which led to sales. It's really hard for us to get a brand to talk to us about how our work ended up driving sales, but I would love to get there. I would love to get to the point where they're like, listen, this video didn't work, this video did, because it would help us as creators get better and better and better and better. But the reality of why that doesn't happen, in my opinion, is that marketers are still in a place where they're making a couple of ads. And if they don't say they did great, all of a sudden the CEO is like, why the fuck did you spend $100,000? Like, this is bullshit. They have to have the up and to the right graph. And truly, that is a disservice to them as well as us. But if you focus on this upcycling angle, where your goal is to shoot an asset library, over time, build up that asset library, and then re-edit with any evergreen content that you have, you're going to be able to A/B test to infinity until you find the perfect performing ads. And as you do that, you're probably preparing for your next shoot. And then you're going to be way smarter when you come into it. It's like, listen, we thought that it would be great if there was this like dad and this daughter on a picnic. Turns out that didn't convert. Okay, we won't do that. Let's try something else.
Yeah, and you save so much money on the front end from a pre-production standpoint, because if you're so obsessed with making every single thing perfect, then you spend so much money to achieve that goal, versus this approach, which gives you so much agility as a marketing team to find the right messaging, find the right visuals. You're allowing your audience to teach you as you go, right?
On that same topic, Jared, one of the things that I think about a lot is that I'm pretty sure with the person hours we spend on prep, that really is just convincing brands that the one idea is perfect, instead of just saying, let's try it, let's see what works. I think you could at least get if you had budget for one day of shooting, you could get a second day of shooting for the money spent just like having a group of people on a Zoom call trying to figure out what was perfect, when we all know we're all just stating our subjective opinion of what should work. We're not measuring it.
This leads into something that I think is maybe a little bit foreign to a lot of marketers and brands, but makes more and more sense from our perspective, especially coming from a post background. But we talk often about the idea that editing is storytelling. The larger your asset library, the more stories you can tell in the edit suite. So can you talk about that a little bit?
So editing as storytelling is a subject that I'm super biased towards because I've been an editor for 20 years. So let's just go into it being honest. I am a director now, I am a producer now, I am a writer now, but I came from a background of editing. The reason I got into editing is I saw it as the quickest path to creatively impact the story. My own history is all about this content upcycling. People started to realize that they could just sort of send video files to me and they'd get back a video. Every now and then I would get involved on bigger projects, but for the most part, it was a lot of people who weren't exactly sure what the end result should be. And they're like, this guy seems to be okay at putting a story together with kind of anything. Toss it to him. That probably happened because of my own background in documentary filmmaking. If you make documentaries, you have an idea of what someone's going to say, but you don't know what they're going to say. And then you have to find the story. And a lot of times you have sort of these disconnected elements, but you try to shoot them in a way that feels connected. You build an asset library, then you build the story. So let's apply this to commercial filmmaking. If you just go out and you capture scenarios that are evergreen for your product, you know that your product's going to look like X. It's not going to change. Often products do change, but let's take an iconic one. A Coca-Cola can doesn't change. It's look the same forever. There's no reason you can't be recycling Coca-Cola footage, right? It looks identical. And on top of that, if you shoot it with the plan that you're like, look, I'm just trying to give as many pieces of footage of this Coca-Cola can as I can to my editor, and then you sit back and you say, make me something, you'll quickly realize that editors actually love it. Editors are able to take shot 1 and shot 2 and move them around so that the story, according to the viewer, changes. Nothing different from writing. It's just writing with video, writing with graphics, writing with design, instead of writing on paper words that tell that story in that order. Okay, so this is another benefit to editing as storytelling, which is going out and shooting is expensive. Even if you do it like us, where you try and save costs wherever possible but maintain the quality, you can't get it down to zero. Hiring in-house people who are all the different skill sets required to make high quality content, it's really, really expensive. Editors are far less expensive. There's a reality, and this is something we deal with brands all the time, where they'll hire us to do one hero video, for example, and then shoot a bunch of scenarios that act as an asset library. And this could be for a giant brand or a tiny brand. Shoot for 1-2 days, get a bunch of content, have it service one video that we create, work with the brand to define what that looks like. And then from there, we actually will hand all the content to their internal editor. And that editor is able to recycle and recycle and recycle and make all those iterations. So when I pitch all of this content being made, I realize it does service us because we do a lot of post-production, but I also think it's a way for brands to take control of their content. You have to work with an agency that's willing to give you the source files, but it's pretty easy to find a great editor. And then you just work with your internal editor once you get your main story planned out with the agency, and the agency is able to put that rubric together, those rules together, those brand guidelines together that then a lower level editor actually can work within and create some valuable content, whether that's for social or testing out paid ads with a small spend. You don't always have to go back to the agency if you're starting from a place of we're making an asset library and then we're upcycling that content as much as possible to make it walk as far as it can. Thanks for joining. This was, what is this called?
Content upcycling. Oh, the brand spaceship.
No, this is the brand spaceship. Jared's wrong. Today we talked about content upcycling and how if you create content with an asset library in mind, you can re-edit and test and A/B test again and again and again and again and try all these different angles on how to get the attention of your customer. And hopefully by focusing on iterative creation from the same set of assets, you're going to come upon the right formula. And so then the next time you go to shoot, you'll have a much better idea of the type of content that's going to convert with your customers. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm Ryan. This has been the Brand Spaceship. That's Jared. And we're both just really grateful you watched. So watch another. Subscribe. I don't know what platform you're watching. Watch the next video. Send us an email. Talk to us. Comment.
Next video is going to blow your mind. You got to watch the next one. It's crazy.
The next one. Yes. The next one. This one. That one. Wherever it is. I don't know if we're on a platform with little boxes. Watch it.